Welcome back to the Discussing and Critiquing Film Media podcast. I'm your host, Juan Espidio, and as always, I'm joined by my fellow guests, Brian and Alberto, and today we will be discussing the newly released Captain Marvel. I guess first impressions, what did you guys think?
It was good. I think it was better than I expected. Because everyone was like saying it was gonna be pretty bad because it was the least anticipated movie after all. Yeah.
It was a pretty enjoyable movie. The experience is pretty good. I mean, at the end, I still kind of dozed off, but the movie still caught my attention with the music and the references from the 90s, one of my favorite eras.
Nice.
And I mean, overall, the movie was better than I also expected.
Yeah, I think I walked into it with not too much high expectations. I just wasn't too very excited about it, and I think that had to do with the trailers. I honestly think the trailers in this case didn't really do the movie any favors because they were pretty like boring, not very eye catching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that we felt that too when we were watching it. It was just like, can this movie just start already?
Yeah, but I thought it was better than expected as well. It's not, in my opinion, one of the best MCU movies, but it's not like terrible. It's pretty good. It's somewhere in the middle.
It's not like Hulk, the Incredible Hulk.
Whoa, like what? Like it's not like as in like as good or as bad?
It's not as bad.
It's bad. You think Incredible Hulk is bad? Oh, I love the Incredible Hulk.
It was good.
I think it's very underrated. But all right, I understand. Why didn't you think it was that good of a movie?
Because I mean, Bruce Banner, whatever his name is, it's just like, it was kind of boring. Like, yeah, sure, he was sad. He went all through these like phases of like how bad it was to be the Incredible Hulk and like destroying like the things that he cared about. But like, it wasn't that like really great of a storyline because it was just boring. Like, you really want to know a depressed Hulk?
Well, I think that stems from the fact that the Incredible Hulk is a rather tragic character compared to other. Like, I think it's interesting that you would have Iron Man, whose background is, he's like a flamboyant, billionaire, right? And so. And obviously he has tragedy in his life too. I mean, he gets abducted, right?
Iron Man too, though.
But I mean, I'm saying like in the first one, like he obviously gets kidnapped, and then that's what causes him to like change his character, right? But regardless, and his core, he's a very it's a very I don't know if I say happy, but it's a much lighter tone kind of character, right? Because he's always joking around, and it's Robert Downey Jr. And then you go into Incredible Hulk, which is a kind of the 180 completely different, because it's a lot more tragic, and there is that that sad and kind of exactly, and that's part of the character. So I think they actually accurately got that into the movie. Now I understand though if like maybe that's a little bit more boring than like an Iron Man.
Because like Iron Man had its fair jokes. I mean, it was funny. Yeah. But like it was also serious at the same time. But like this one was just flat out super sad and serious.
And you didn't like that. You don't really like that. And that's fine. I understand.
Like the only part that was funny was when he was trying to turn into the Incredible Hulk. Out like when he was like jumping out of the plane.
Oh, right. And he crashed. Like, yeah. And okay. No, I know. But I mean, yeah, that movie doesn't have as much levity as like other MCU films.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to Captain Marvel, which I think had quite a bit of comedy, if that's what we're talking about. Some hit or miss jokes though. Like I honestly thought. Oh, I guess we'll just get right into spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, you can go watch it. Or if you don't care, keep listening. But an example of like a comedy bit that I thought didn't really work was I really did not like how Nick Fury lost his eye. And it's I don't understand why, because that was a comedy bit, I mean, I feel like the purpose of that was to make it a funny moment, but it
was like disappointing because he was always like, I lost my. Yeah. Like he was like talking to Captain America, right? That he lost his one good eye. because of his friend.
Because he trusted someone, yeah. And now, I mean, sure, he trusted the cat, but like that's still so very dumb. Like I don't know why they chose to do that. I think so. I think a lot of the problems in this movie stem from the fact that I only noticed this the second time I saw it during the credits. It was apparently written by 5 people. Now, usually the more writers there is in a movie, the not like the quality wise, it's not as good.
Because there's too many perspectives.
Yes, and freaking Super Mario Brothers, the movie had 5 writers. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, this isn't anywhere near as bad as that movie, but you can understand like some like plot lines and some maybe some script issues do come up in the film like that. You know what I mean?
So like the comedy for Captain Marvel, it was alright.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, like, I think, what's her name? The one that played as Captain Marvel.
This is Brie Larson?
Yeah, yes. Brie Larson. She was trying to be funny, but, like,
you didn't buy it?
Yeah, I didn't buy it. Because, like, when she was, like, saying stuff, like, to the scrolls, when she was fighting them, it was supposed to be, like, comedic, but I was just like, this is, like, terrible.
Yeah.
Did you felt that like after she was like fighting them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. There was definitely like that's what I'm saying. Like there are some moments where it's supposed to be a comedy moment and it's funny, but there are other moments where it's just
flat.
Yeah. And I think that might stem from the fact that like I don't want to say Brie Larson she's not a bad actress and she doesn't do like a terrible job in this movie, but I just think like her charisma doesn't really shine in this film. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's intentional. And I mean, to be fair, in the film's plot, it's supposed to be that she's like basically brainwashed in a sense. So maybe that was a directorial choice. But I just think when it came to those comedy bits, it didn't work because she had that like very stoic approach to her.
It was because I mean, like she was probably just missing her humanity part.
Mm-hmm, right.
And maybe that's what they were going for. She's missing her humanity, but I mean, trying to mix it, you're still trying to have her some sort of element of humanity, and then like her being completely brainwashed.
Right.
That was still hit or miss.
Well, the thing that's funny about that though is that to Saponic at the beginning she's like a little more. She's brainwashed supposedly, right? Mm-hmm. But she doesn't really. Once she discovers like the truth about her past, her characteristics don't really change that much. Like she's not like she's still like pretty serious and like very stern. You know what I mean? And she's not like she doesn't have as much like human qualities as you think she would after the fact that she'd find out.
That she found out that she was like a human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyways, I thought the first act of the film was very strong. I really liked how it started. It's very Guardians of the Galaxy, the way they set up Hala, the Kree world, and I was very happy that they really adopted a lot of things from the comic books. And there are some things though that they kind of like loosely base, and some things that they adapted that I didn't really like. But
what you think about the Skrulls though? Okay,
so the Skrulls. I was not expecting, obviously knowing the Skrulls from the comics, I'm like, okay, they're going to be the villains. But it's funny because the Kree are also villains, right?
Yeah.
So I was excited to see that Kree versus Skrull war, which they do show. That's what I'm saying. That's why I really like the beginning, because the beginning starts with Captain Marvel and Star Force, which is led by Yanrog, played by Jude Law. They go into a planet where they know Skrulls are hiding, and they're keeping one of the Kree members in that planet, and so they want to infiltrate it, extract the Kree, and then bring it back home. So that whole part I really liked because that's what it shows. It shows the Kree fighting the Skrulls. And then after that, we still got a little bit of that, but not to the level that we do at the beginning of the film. And that's what, to me, I think my favorite part is that first act, when from the beginning of the film up to when Captain Marvel lands on Earth. That whole section, her in the spaceship, escaping.
It's all based on the comics.
And so that's what I really liked. And as for the Skrulls, so they set up. And in that first act, they very much are villains, right?
Yeah.
But then midway through the film, when she's on Earth, when she goes to
Finds out the truth.
when she goes to Rambeau's house.
Yeah.
The main Skrull, Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, which in my opinion was the best part of the movie, and it's because I think of this twist. I was not expecting it. That
neither was I, man.
Yeah,
I was just like, what?
So they make it so that Talos is actually not a bad guy, and neither are his like his like a little family of Skrulls that he has, and they're all actually like trying to run away from the Kree, who it turns out are very oppressive. Yeah, they're a very oppressive race that want to eliminate all Skrulls. Exactly. And so it was very yeah. That's for sure. So I wasn't expecting that because obviously I'm thinking, all right, the Skrulls are the bad guys.
Yeah.
But no. But I liked that twist because I wasn't expecting it, and they did a good job. They did it. They executed it well.
Yeah. They did a good job of explaining how it turned out.
And you see, and that whole part where he reveals himself to Nick Fury and Captain Marvel, like those comedy bits were really good. And I think that's because Ben Mendelsohn is a great actor. And again, he's my favorite part of the film because he's just hilarious throughout the whole film. And that one scene, like, yeah, exactly. You see, and those comedy bits work. And I think that's probably because Ben Mendelsohn is again just a great actor, and so. Yeah, he was. I think he was my favorite. He's my favorite character in the film.
So, what you think about the Tesseract being in there?
All right, so at first I was very confused because I thought, I was like, this timeline-wise, does this work?
Yeah, because I was thinking about like what happened when they got Captain America out the ice. I was just like, what the hell?
Well, so in First Avenger, Captain America goes into the ice, but the next shot is Howard Stark, Tony Stark's father, finding the Tesseract.
Yeah.
So it's established that S.H.I.E.L.D. had the Tesseract all, like, well, they don't specifically say, like, if it was right away that they found it, because they were trying to find Captain America. As a result, they found the Tesseract. So S.H.I.E.L.D. has had it for, like, since, like, the 40s, I guess. But it was weird seeing that Mar-Vell, and that's another twist, and that twist I didn't really like. I thought that was a very poor adaptation from the comic books. The whole twist that Annette Bening plays Mar-Vell, but her name is Dr. Wendy Lawson, which is actually the name of Mar-Vell, the original Captain Marvel. His like human name or his like alter ego was Dr. Right? Dr. Walter Lawson. So that is Mar-Vell. They just casted a woman, which like I guess is okay, but I didn't really I didn't mind that, but the fact that they made her like an older person, I wanted it to be at least like someone that was actually gonna fight like Yon-Rogg, you know what I mean? Like in that scene where they crash the jet and Yon-Rogg kills Mar-Vell, I was kind of hoping there would be more of a rivalry between that, but there wasn't. Like there was in the comic books, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, so it turns out that Mar-Vell has the Tesseract because she's using that to power up the light speed engine, which in and of itself is a very Star Wars thing. I kept thinking about light speed engine.
Star Wars too.
Yeah, but
like after they went to light speed.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, right? Yeah, but so that was cool, and I like, definitely the sci-fi aspects of this film I think are very good. But anyways,
very Star Warsy.
Yeah, and I like that. I mean, it makes sense.
Because it's already owned by Disney. But it's okay for them to use that.
Yeah, but and that's really what the whole movie revolves around. Everyone wants to get this light speed engine, right?
Yeah.
Powered by the Tesseract. And so at first I was thinking, I was like, well, so how is it that the Tesseract is basically in space, right? Because her laboratory or her spaceship is in space. And I guess, but then I thought about it. I'm like, supposedly, I guess just the movie just doesn't do a good job of saying Pegasus is like a sub division of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
So, and they don't really say, oh, well, they handed Mar-Vell the Tesseract so that she could work on her project. I think they could have done a better job in explaining that a little bit more explicitly.
Yeah.
Maybe show a scene where, they hand her the Tesseract and then you see her working in her spaceship. But but I guess that makes sense though, because then at the end,
It's like a mystery.
yeah, well, the Florgan frickin' swallows it. Nick Fury keeps Goose, and he
What
brings it
happened
back
to
to
the
Earth.
cat, though? That's what I want to know.
That's a very good question. I have no idea, but maybe we'll find out. And I mean, I don't know.
Maybe he got killed or run over.
I doubt it. Well, I doubt.
Yeah, I doubt it.
I doubt an alien species would just
die from the car.
yeah. But that's what the second post-credit scene is. All the way at the end of the movie is the Florgan throwing up the.
Yeah, we didn't see that part because
okay. Yeah. No, I mean, like I stayed when the first time I saw it, I stayed all the way to see what it was. But then afterwards, I was like,
didn't really matter.
They've been doing that a lot. The most recent MCU movies have been doing that a lot, where they have the first post-credit scene be the very important one, and then the one all the way at the end is like a joke throwaway kind of thing. But yeah, but I guess if you're interested in the Tesseract timeline, that it ends up being that
Nick Fury has it.
Nick Fury has it because Goose freaking spit it out. So it makes sense why then because technically I guess timeline wise the next time we see the Tesseract in the MCU is at the end of Thor, where Nick Fury shows Dr. Selvage that they have the Tesseract, and then we see it in Avengers at the beginning of the film. So I guess they were able to like bring it all back and say, all right, the Tesseract is with Shield, and makes it kind of like keeps the timeline. But yeah, I don't know if they needed to have the Tesseract be the thing that was powering the Lightspeed engine, but I mean,
the Tesseract is the space one, right?
Yeah, the space stuff.
So then I'm guessing Captain Marvel is like a space stone.
Well, so it's interesting that Captain Marvel isn't directly because so the way they do Captain Marvel getting her powers in this film is that she blows up the engine and it releases the energy and she absorbs it, and then she has her abilities, right? And so I guess you could say her powers stem from the Tesseract, but it's kind of like how Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch have their powers from the Loki scepter, which we then find out is the Mind Stone. Mm-hmm. Although I think that's more of a direct, their powers do stem from the Mind Stone, whereas Captain Marvel's is not directly from the Tesseract, because it was the Tesseract. Yes, because it was from the Tesseract to the engine, and then she got her powers. So it's a little bit more of a
stretch,
Yeah, but I guess it explains why she'd be so powerful, because she kind of has energy from a power stone, from a Infinity Stone. Sorry.
But then again, Scarlet Witch isn't super OP.
No, she's pretty OP. I mean, they honestly haven't shown her that Infinity War. They were getting more. Yeah, they were showing her more OP.
She was more in control of her powers.
Yeah, that, and they showed her using them a lot more, and they displayed it they are very powerful.
Yeah, but she wasn't OP
but
Captain Marvel, she was just right off the bat OP.
Mm-hmm. But I don't necessarily think that's I think we'll see more of her powers in Avengers 4. I think. I mean, I don't know. It's possible. But yeah. But yeah, speaking of which, the power level, right? Did you guys think she really was that OP?
I think she was as strong as Thor with the
Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker, exactly. Because Thor is basically a god, and he can't really get
damage
that much. But I still think since Captain Marvel has human genetics, I guess she would be weaker.
She's susceptible to damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think even without Stormbreaker, Thor and Captain Marvel are still at at an even level. Even Hulk, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I did like, because it seemed like they were kind of hyping up the fact that she was gonna be all like
They didn't really showcase anything that for me, in my opinion, that showed her that she's gonna be like super buff. Not yet, at least. I think they're waiting until Infinity War. But in this movie, they showed off. You know, she can do this, she can do that, at a pretty strong rate. But they didn't show her all, freaking mowing down everything, completely obliterating.
I mean, at the end, that's the closest we get is at the end where the Kree warships arrive. The Accusers, which Ronan the Accuser from Guardians of the Galaxy is in. He's not in it a lot, but he is we showed him.
I thought he was gonna be in it like more.
Yeah, I kind of wish he was, but I mean, I guess the way they took the story, where the first, like I said, the first act is space oriented, and then the rest of the movie is on Earth. I guess it makes sense why he's not in it too much, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. But yeah, no. At the end of the movie, like she flies up to space. They send a bunch of like missiles, and she just blows them all up, which I thought was actually kind of cool because one of her abilities is like energy absorption. So in my mind, like when she blew up those missiles, she absorbed that energy, and that's why when she went into space, she literally blew up a whole warship. She just went through, which I thought was pretty cool. And so to me, that was like the biggest like showcase of her like abilities, was her like being able to blow up a whole warship, and then so much so that Ronan like backs up, like he doesn't even continue his attack.
And then I was like, I was kind of confused of what he was like saying, because he's like, we were gonna get that woman. I was just like.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know if they're setting up like a sequel. I mean,
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, I guess it would make sense that they would make a sequel set in the past still, like because the movie ends kind of open-ended in the sense that all we know is that Captain Marvel leaves Earth to help Talos and his family find a new home, and they set up that Ronan now wants to get Captain Marvel, because he thinks he's like a really powerful weapon. And so I guess in the second one, you could make Ronan like the main villain,
I feel like it's kind of too late already.
Too late.
Because like he's dead basically already.
Well, yeah, he's dead in Guardians, but Guardians is set like in 2014, and this is in the 90s, you know what I mean? So they could still, like, that's what I'm saying, like they could do, but they don't really have to say a specific time, but it'll probably be before Infinity War, or before Guardians, you know what I mean? So Ronan can still be, alive. But that'll be interesting to see if they actually do a sequel. I think they will, because this movie was actually pretty successful. They had a budget of $175 million, and as of March 18, the worldwide gross has been $760.8 million. So they've definitely gotten their money back, and it's doing pretty good. It had a very good opening weekend, so I think they'll be and depending on how she's like received in Avengers Endgame, how public reception, like with people like really like her with interacting with the other characters, I think that will gauge whether or not like they continue doing other sequels with her. And I think they will, regardless though, because
most likely they're not. I mean, the movie was pretty enjoyable. I mean, the end kind of dozed off a bit, but I mean, they still got my attention again with, the ending and all that. But I mean, otherwise, I'm pretty sure, they're gonna probably come out with a sequel maybe before Endgame.
Before Endgame?
I mean, after. Well, timeline-wise.
Yes.
Before Infinity War, I mean. Timeline-wise. But I mean, other than that, the whole movie in itself, pretty enjoyable. The character is gonna be probably well received by the rest of the audience. I mean, well, I only saw part of the trailer, but I don't really want to discuss it because one trailer. But more likely than not, the audience might receive it pretty well.
Yeah, I think it all depends on how. It's interesting to note that they filmed, Brie Larson filmed all her Captain Marvel stuff in Avengers Endgame first, and then she went on to do the movie. Which is kind of weird to think about, right? So I really wonder how different like her character is gonna be.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because probably because you said she filmed everything first. It'd probably be her first time as a superhero. Maybe like when she started filming Captain Marvel, she was like, all right, this is how we do it. Like she's more what's it called? into the role.
Mm-hmm.
Probably rather than in Endgame, she probably might not be as into it, or who knows.
Right. Yeah, and it's a little bit concerning because we sort of already discussed that. Even though she doesn't do a bad job. The charisma isn't necessarily there.
Enthusiasm.
Right, and so hopefully, like, or that's kind of weird if that was like actually her second time playing the role. Like, how is it gonna be in the first time, which is Avengers Endgame, which might even be less. I mean, again, actually, I haven't seen the trailer. So I don't know if she shows a little more, like, I guess discuss that a little bit. Like, did she in the trailer?
I saw one part where she was interacting with someone.
Okay, but like, did she seem like was it like as similar as like Captain Marvel, or was it a little bit?
Yes
different?
and no, because she kind of gave you like a blank stare in a way.
Okay, so a little bit like Captain Marvel.
A little bit less than Captain.
You know, I think they're gonna do something like what they did to Thor.
Oh, where he started in Thor 1 and the Avengers and Dark World, and then they went into Thor Ragnarok, which is like a complete 180 of the character. Yeah. And you think that's what they're gonna do? I hope so. I think they might go
because they need to make her like not too serious. Because like Thor was like too serious at times, and then they started off with. Like how you said,
Thor Ragnarok. Yeah.
But like Thor Ragnarok is amazing.
Yeah, and you know, and not to say that like having like being a comical character and lighthearted means that you're a better character, because even though they did change that in Thor Ragnarok for Thor, that he's a little bit more comical and lighthearted. His character arc in that movie and in continuing to Infinity War was very good. It was well written. I think like I grew to like him a lot more, not only for those like comedic moments, but because he had a very great story arc throughout those two movies. And so if they can do that with Captain Marvel,
yeah, because I want to see them grow.
Yeah, and I think for sure we will. Like if they can give her a good story arc as well, maybe starting in Avengers Endgame and then going to like her sequel or the next time we see her, I think you could get those people who don't really like her that much. I think you could get them to change their mind if you are able to execute that story arc.
I'm really excited to see that happen though.
And I guess we can since we're already kind of talking about Endgame, the post-credit scene was. I think that was like a scene from the movie. You know, we have the what's called the pager.
Yeah, pager.
It stops.
Upgraded pager.
Yeah. It stops beeping, and we see that Captain America, Black Widow,
what's going
War
on.
Machine, and Bruce Banner. They were all like
very skeptical.
Yeah, well, they didn't know who it was calling or what it was doing, and then it stops beeping, and all of a sudden Captain Marvel spawns right there, and you know, and because we know Nick Fury got disintegrated after Thanos
and she was like,
did a snap. She's looking for Fury, right?
Yeah.
So I think that whole scene is from the movie. Like in like at the end of Ant-Man, it's a scene from Captain America: Civil War, where it's Captain America and Falcon talking about how they need help, and Falcon knows the guy because he was an Ant-Man. So I think that's what I think we're gonna see that scene will be in the film. I'm guessing that'll be a little bit like, I don't know if right at the beginning, maybe. I think that seems like an interesting way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just at this point it's just speculation, but my guess is that the movie
very
starts.
hyped right now.
Yeah, I am very hyped. We're all very hyped, and it's crazy because
the whole world is hyped.
It's next month. You know what I mean? So
this is probably going to be the movie of the century.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, I think so.
The movie of the century, and definitely the movie of this decade.
Right.
Definitely, because never has any movie franchise ever
existed for like 10 years.
Yeah, existed for 10 years. Made a whole
10+ years.
Such a complex story timeline.
Yeah.
To the fact that you basically grew up as a kid watching these movies.
Yeah, I know. For
our generation,
yeah,
we grew up watching these movies.
Like a lot of people, like you know, I feel like the MCU has become the new Star Wars. You
Yes.
know, because you got a lot of people who grew up with the Star Wars saga. Now you got a lot of people growing up with the MCU, and so I'm very excited to see in the future how they're going to continue this, because Endgame is supposed to be like the end of what's being dubbed the Infinity Saga, and so I'm excited to see now what they do afterwards. And we're gonna discuss this a little bit furthermore during the news segment. But and I just remembered this, that they already announced that like by the end of this month, Disney and Fox, the merger is gonna be complete, which means Fantastic Four and X-Men finally coming back to the MCU.
Yeah.
We'll get into that a little bit more when we finish the review. But
I think we were talking about this, me and him, with Emmanuel, about like how are they gonna bring the Fantastic Four in the X-Men, and we were like thinking MODOK, whatever his name is.
MODOK. Yeah.
Like I think that's gonna be like the first
big villain.
Yeah.
Tease him probably at the end.
I think tease MODOK.
Yeah, and then
they could.
They could get after that to Galactus.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk about that right now. I'll talk about it. That'll be a news segment. We'll have a nice discussion about that one too. But yeah, that's sort of overall. I guess then, yeah, overall, the movie was pretty good. Again, not, in my opinion, not one of my favorite MCU movies, but it wasn't bad. And I think it's a nice little setup for Endgame. You know what I mean?
It's an appetizer.
Yes.
For the main course.
It's very true. That's a very good way to put it. I think, yeah. I mean, I think people who don't want to be confused as to like when Captain Marvel shows up in Avengers Endgame, they should probably check this movie out first, so they could see her backstory and understand who she is, and then get that end credit teaser, right, of her how she joins the rest of the group.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me there was some like story issues, mainly with adapting comic book stuff into the film. But speaking of which, I really loved the musical score.
A1.
It was like a mixture of. Well, yeah. Well, you got the musical score and then you got the soundtrack, right? Yeah. Which I liked. I liked some of the songs in the sense that like there was some moments where I thought they were kind of what's it called, interrupting the scene a little distracting, and some of the placements. But overall it fits the '90s aesthetic. And again, I think the musical score I've been listening to a lot because it has a lot of mixture like with Star Wars and some Thor Ragnarok-ish kind of things, and so I really love the score. Ben Mendelsohn again was my favorite part of the film. Just his comedic moments and that whole twist was very well executed. And so I am a little bit more excited to see how Captain Marvel fits into Avengers Endgame, for sure.
Definitely very different from how we first gave our thoughts before the movie came out a couple months back.
Yeah,
a couple weeks.
When we were doing the 2019 list, yeah.
I mean, they're very different. They're very different from our initial thoughts.
Because it was the least anticipated.
Yeah, it was least anticipated. But I mean, now my mouth has been shut and I have my mind changed. That was a pretty enjoyable movie. Way better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think my boy Brian got everything that I could have said.
All right, guys. Well, if you can catch it before, I think it'll be on. I don't know if it'll be on when Endgame comes out, but it's possible. I mean, Black Panther stayed on the theaters for like a really long time. It was when Infinity War came out, Black Panther was still in the theaters, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah. Anyways, now we get into the news. We'll definitely continue our discussion about
your favorite movie, Shazam,
Fox and the Fox and Disney merger. But first, we should start off with rather very big news for both the MCU and DC films. So recently, actually, last week, they announced that James Gunn is returning to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3 after they had fired him.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that is one of the best news this is one of the best news that has come out recently. Because honestly, I was very concerned for not only Guardians 3, but the MCU, because I think James Gunn really is helping them develop the galactic side of the MCU, the space stuff, because he had a lot of involvement with Infinity War, and supposedly he wrote all the dialogue for the Guardians in that film. So, like I said, his involvement and influence is very huge. And I think as we go on, I think the second saga of the MCU will be very space oriented, especially once we get the Fantastic Four in. So yeah,
so they do it right.
Yeah, so that's why I'm very happy that he's not only back for Guardians 3, but that he's back in the MCU family and he's gonna help them move on to the next phase.
I think that means that Dave Bautista is not gonna get out now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
So,
I mean, they were. I mean, a lot. Obviously, the actors. When they fired him, they came out and fully supported him. They wrote like a public statement saying that they were behind James Gunn and that.
I mean, it was a lot of garbanzo beans and kind of why they fired him.
Yeah, I know. I think it was really dumb. The reason why they fired him. So supposedly, I think so. James Gunn is very not necessarily very very politically active, but it's clear that he has some I guess you could say left wing beliefs, and supposedly there was
it was like a joke that he made.
There was I don't know if it was a reporter or someone that was very right wing. Dug up a lot of his old tweets and used that to accuse him, right? And so, they would try to make James Gunn look like a bad person, and Disney, I feel that's why they reacted a little too quickly, and they said, well, we're gonna fire him because we want to save face, we want to look good, and we don't want to look bad right now. But I'm glad because
they knew their mistakes. Man.
Yeah, I'm glad they recognized that they did a mistake, and now they brought him back, and so now I'm much more excited for Guardians 3. Everyone's gonna be happy. Dave Bautista's certainly a lot happier now. The whole cast, I'm sure, it's much more comfortable knowing that the director is back to finish the trilogy.
Exactly.
And in the end, though, it's funny because James Gunn ended up. He was the real winner because not only does he have Guardians 3, he's now also directing The Suicide Squad, which is not a sequel to the first Suicide Squad. It's like a complete reboot supposedly with new characters.
The first one was complete trash.
I hate that movie.
That movie was garbage.
Yeah.
I would not watch that movie.
I could do a whole podcast why Suicide Squad sucks, but I don't want to get into that. But yeah, so I'm out. So when they announced that, and it makes sense, that they would pick up James Gunn, that DC would pick up James Gunn. And so when they announced that he was going to do a Suicide Squad film, I was for sure more excited about it if it was just like a regular Suicide Squad 2.
I'm still kind of skeptical.
Well, I'm definitely more now trusting and excited for it, knowing that James Gunn. Yeah, exactly. Because if it wasn't James Gunn and if they were just doing a sequel,
nobody would go watch it.
I would not be that anticipated at all because that first one was just terrible. It's the worst DC EU film, and that's
it was worse than BBS,
and it was worse than Justice League for sure. Anyways, it's funny though because in the end James Gunn kind of won. Now he has a DC film and he has a Marvel film, so it's cool.
Good for him.
Yeah, and he deserves it because he's a very talented director and writer. You know what I mean? So. I'm just very excited to see him back. I'm very happy that Disney saw the mistake that they made and they recuperated.
Yeah. I'm glad Dave Bautista is not in this.
Yes, I'm very glad too. I know because he's such a great Drax too. And I just wanted because it's gonna be Volume 3, and James Gunn. This is gonna be the only trilogy, the only set of films in the MCU where the director will complete a trilogy because. Iron Man has 3 films, but the first 2 were directed by Jon Favreau, and the third one was directed by Shane Black. So even though it's a trilogy, it's not by the same director. Yeah. Same thing with Captain America. The first one, Joe Johnston, and then Winter Soldier and Civil War was the Russo brothers. So there hasn't been MCU trilogy completed by one director, and this is going to be the first time they do that. So that's very good news. But yeah, and so I guess sticking a little bit with the DC side of news, early screenings for Shazam have people have been able to give like their first reactions of the film, and supposedly it's really good, which is I'm very happy about it because I'm very excited.
I'm
for
excited
Shazam.
to see that movie as well.
Like it looks like it's gonna be like just a fun time, you know what I mean? And Shazam, I'm happy they're doing a character like Shazam, just because I'm a big fan of just the concept, the idea behind the character. Exactly, you know, and you know they've been describing it like big Tom Hanks. And they said that it's basically Tom Hanks is big, but with a superhero. Yeah. So that's honestly that's a if you're gonna do a comparison, that's a good comparison to make. And so I'm very excited to see it. And also next month, in fact, a lot sooner than Endgame because it's April 5th. So the first week of April, which we're gonna be in break, so we'll be able to see it. But yeah, I'm very
a pretty good lineup.
Yeah. Oh, dude, April is packed with a bunch of like movies.
Shazam.
Pet Cemetery.
Pet Cemetery.
I want to go see Pet Cemetery.
Hellboy. Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
Hellboy?
Hellboy, yeah.
I didn't expect it.
And dude, honestly, okay, so like at first, again, we were talking about when we were doing the list, like Hellboy, like we weren't really excited for it, but I keep seeing they keep playing the trailer, and it's growing on me a little bit more. Like it looks like it's like a pretty fun movie too. But yeah.
I don't know. I'm still kind of skeptical about that movie because do I really want to watch a Hellboy movie
again?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess. But I don't know. It looks different enough from the Guillermo del Toro movies to see. All right, well let's see how this interpretation is.
I mean, the actor's great. I would want to watch something different, like something new out of like the Dark Horse comics.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, well, hopefully, if this is successful, that'll motivate them to look at the Dark Horse lineup and say, all right, well, let's adapt this. Let's do this.
Because like you have Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. You ever seen the Umbrella Academy?
Umbrella Academy. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, but I heard that a lot of people say it's very, very good.
Yeah, it's like that's like different. And
which is also Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well, if they maybe not necessarily if they do more movies, but they could start doing more TV shows as well. But yeah, so yeah, and then obviously at the end of the month, Endgame. So April is very packed for movies, and I'm happy it starts off with Shazam because I'm very excited.
I'm ready for all those superhero movies coming over.
I know. And yeah, that's only in April, because then we have July, Far From Home, and then actually I think that might be it for Joker in October, and I think that's like for superhero wise or comic book wise, I think that might be it for the year. But there's definitely a lot more coming on the way, especially now that, as we mentioned, Fox and Disney merger, it's happening. Fantastic Four, X-Men coming back. I'm very excited. I think that's what the next phase is all going to be about, introducing the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. And now that they have the Fantastic Four, you'll definitely have a lot more space adventures, I think, because now they have all the villains that they can choose. Silver Surfer. Like, I'm very excited to see. I'm just very excited to see like Doctor Doom. Finally do a comic book accurate.
Villains of all time.
Yeah, my favorite Marvel villain for sure, hands down. Finally see a comic book accurate adaptation of Doctor Doom. And Galactus. I think you gotta do you gotta make Galactus your next Thanos. Yeah. I think that's
perfect. The biggest threat for you.
Yeah.
What?
So yeah, I think depending on how Endgame finishes, like I am sure we're gonna lose a lot of the characters that have already been introduced, but because they'll have X-Men and Fantastic Four, they'll be able to, not necessarily replace, but they'll be able to, have still an equal amount of heroes in their movies. So I'm just, for me, Fantastic Four more than X-Men, because I feel like the Fantastic Four have had less success in the big screen, whereas compared to X-Men, X-Men has definitely had some troubles, I think it's had more better movies than you could say like Fantastic Four movies.
Standalones, mostly. Like X-Men.
Yeah.
Like for Wolverine, Logan.
Yeah, which is a fantastic film too.
This whole merger has great
Deadpool as
potential.
well.
Yes.
And in a way, monopolizes half of the movie industry. Because you have literally an unlimited amount of characters, resources, and pretty much unlimited potential to what you can do, different storylines, the whole different universe you could probably do. That's crazy.
Yep. And I think it's easy to say that the MCU is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I think we have 10 more years of MCU films with this merger, and I'm very excited to see that. So yeah, any final thoughts on anything that we discussed?
No.
All right. Well, that concludes one more podcast of the discussing and critiquing film media. As always, I've been your host Juan with
Sir Brian
and Alberto.
We will catch you next week. We haven't really decided what we will discuss. Maybe some Star Wars, possibly, depending on what happens. But we'll for sure catch you next week.